I told him, I said, I'm going to have two Bubbas meet. And
Yeah.
I said, Bubba meet Bubba.
Yeah, and so that was it's so
He got a big
surreal.
kick out of you. He looked you up later and, figured out what Bubba he was talking to.
Speaking of Orlando, although he's the king of everywhere, he started out being, probably the king of Kentucky. And then that transferred down to when did your parent? By the way, John Morgan, For the People, Size Matters, good friend of mine, known John for 15 years or so. And I told John yesterday when I was talking to him, John, I knew you when you were only worth $50 million.
Well,
Now, when did you grew up in Kentucky, John, but when did your parents move to Orlando?
All right. Well, it was a long time ago. I was 14 years old. So that was like 54 years ago. I was devastated. I was very happy in Kentucky. But as they say in Ireland, my dad drank a wee too much. And my mother drank right there with him. And we were just kind of trying to find survival. So we came to Florida, which turned out to be very good for me because I got a good school system, but it was traumatic at the time.
I mean, the only one that was partying, probably the only one initially that liked it was Tim, because he was out, lifeguarding and being the man all about town. And so, the younger you, 13, 14, you can't appreciate what Tim's going through. But it's probably like Tim's coming from backward ass Kentucky, thrown right into the hot spot, right?
Well, when we go home, we get to be with our cousins, and we get to see what life could have been like if we had stayed there for the rest of our lives. And we love them to death, but it's a different lifestyle up there.
By the way,
it's like hillbilly elegy.
By the way, mentioning Tim, R.I.P. I didn't get a chance as I was talking to you yesterday to give my condolences to your brother, who was just absolutely kind of your driving force. I've seen many lectures where you're like, listen, one of the reasons why I got into personal injury was my brother Tim, older brother, was a lifeguard for Disney or a resort or something, and had a catastrophic injury where it paralyzed him. And you guys had horrible weapons, like your lawyers were horrible, just horrible. Tim didn't get near the justice or near the care, or just botched it completely. And you're like, from that point forward, you got into this space for your brother. Rest in peace. We just lost him not too long ago. But what a hell of a fighter, and what a cool. I met Tim one time, man, and Tim was like a guy in a wheelchair that didn't know he was in a wheelchair. You know what I'm saying?
Tim made all of us feel comfortable by not being uncomfortable.
Right.
The last thing Tim said to me on his deathbed was, I laughed so you all wouldn't cry.
Oh man, that's
deep.
Tough. That's deep. That's deep. And I know that hurt you, but what a hell of a dude. What a hell of a guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think you're on your current, I call it the John Morgan tour, and I think you're on the third leg of your world tour right now. Usually your first leg starts in Hawaii, then your second leg is in New Hampshire, and then you close out the year in Orlando / New Smyrna, and then it all starts again January 1 back in Maui.
That's exactly, I call it my wheel.
Yeah.
I'm in search of perfect weather. Like I'm in Ponce Inlet today, and the weather is absolutely perfect. And that is my goal every day, to wake up in perfect weather.
Now, will you even call the shop today and ask how many new ones we got? Or do you get a report every day? We got 3 big new ones and 10 decent ones. What level?
Did Diddy call?
Or did Diddy call and needs a good lawyer?
Well, Diddy, I met Diddy years ago. I was partners with Johnny Cochran. And one of our first meetings, I went to Cochran's office in New York City. Sitting in the lobby was Diddy and J-Lo. And it was at the time where he had been arrested for pulling the gun out.
Right.
And we all went back to Johnny's office, and we had the meeting. And when it was over, Johnny said, "What do you think?" I said, "Listen, right now, America thinks you're undefeated." And You don't need to be doing any more criminal cases. Let's retire undefeated and let's move on into personal injury. And that's what he did. We got Ben Brofman involved, who represented Diddy, got him off. And for the rest of America, when they thought of Johnny Cochran, they thought this is a lawyer who can do the impossible. He got O.J. Simpson off. I mean, like Chris Rock used to say, people that if you hire Johnny Cochran, you're guilty. And Chris Rock used to say, I'd rather be guilty and free than not guilty and in prison. And that's kind of what Johnny Cochran was.
With regards to the dream team, OJ's dream team, who was obviously Cochran was kind of the superstar face, and he had the most famous quote, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. But who was because obviously you're a lawyer, who was the workhorse on that team that may have been the unheralded hero that really did a lot better than people give credit for?
Well, F. Lee Bailey was very, very good.
Florida, West Palm Beach guy, right?
More Massachusetts. He used to. He told me once. He said he was on Johnny Cochran or Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson said, I'm just going to call you F because your friends call you F. But he was a workhorse. But really, the guy who did it was two-pronged. One, Marcia Clark and
Darden.
They were having a little Bubba the Love Sponge action.
They were having Coca-Cola bottle problems.
Yeah, they were having the Love Sponge routine during the most important trial of the century.
Did they blow it? Did they absolutely, like, as a lawyer, did they blow it?
They blew it. They blew it. First of all, you in Lawyerville, you can never let something happen that you don't know the answer to. They teach you the first day in law school. Never ask a question you don't know the answer to. He didn't know if that glove fit. He didn't ever practice that glove. That was a knockout punch. I know you like UFC. That was a knockout punch by Johnny Cochran. That was just coming across, bang, and OJ struggling to put it on, the acting to put it on.
And we even heard that Cochran went to the jail and had OJ not take his blood pressure medicine for 3 or 4 days so that he would be naturally a little bloated. That's what there's even rumors that said that Johnny got that deep into the deal to make sure that OJ's hand was a little bloated. He skipped some of his medication.
Well, when Johnny died, I don't think Johnny really never. I would ask you, what do you think happened? One night we were in Miami, a boxing thing, and afterwards we're back at the Intercontinental Hotel. OJ had come up to us. We were there with a group, Barry Bonds, Gary Sheffield, and Johnny. And we watch this box. OJ comes up, and he's absolutely out of his mind. He is introduced to Barry Bonds. He starts telling Barry Bonds he's going to come out of retirement and beat Barry Bonds' record. He's mixing football and bat. When we get back to the Intercontinental, we're drinking sangria, and Johnny and one guy, Jock Smith, goes, "Boy, OJ was effed up today," and Johnny said, "That brother was so effed up for a minute. I thought he was going to say, Uncle Johnny, I really didn't do it."
Right.
And the whole room was like, "Holy cow, what did we just hear?"
Right. What did you just hear? Did you heard like a reverse gimmick there?
We heard because we never asked him. And he's like, and then at the funeral, Al Sharpton had everybody that's ever been represented by Johnny Cochran, please. I was a pallbearer. Everybody that's been represented by Johnny Cochran, please stand up. You turned around. Diddy standing up. Michael Jackson standing up. Geronimo Pratt is standing up. Bubba the Love Sponge, he's in the back. He did some shit. He did some shit years ago. They're all standing up. And O.J. Simpson stands up, and Al Sharpton says, "With all due respect to you, Brother Simpson, when you were acquitted, we weren't cheering you. We were cheering Johnny Cochran." And it was like a chill.
Wow.
It was a wow.
I didn't know that you were a pallbearer in Johnny Cochran's deal. That's
oh
awesome.
yeah.
That's all.
I was front row in L.A.
So your thoughts
Stevie
on
Wonder's up there. Stevie Wonder's playing the piano. I mean, it was everybody was there. It was
how often do you guys are in LA now? I mean, you guys are in everywhere. Do you go to LA to the LA office very often?
my son Demo Swag, as you love to call him.
Yeah.
Demo Swag loves LA, and his best buddy in life, Evan Rosenberg, we sent him out to run LA. So I let the young guys handle LA.
LA. How about Matt? Is Matt kind of second? Is he kind of John Light? You know, Matt.
Matt, I'm convinced that the day I died, Matt's going to come to my house and take all my shoes and cufflinks. He's ready.
He's ready. I mean, he's already doing your workload. I mean, he's kind of the face, and the 4 or 5 times I've been to your office and the 3 or 4 times I've been to lunch, man, Matt has just got the smooth it factor. He really does.
It's like one time I had a guy that worked for me, Jim Robinson, and my dad met him, and he goes, I said, "What did you think about him, Daddy?" He goes, "There's not enough O's in smooth to describe Jim Robinson." So there's not enough O's in smooth to describe Matt Morgan.
So we're rolling up on Amendment 3 and 4 here in Florida. And I know that you have very, very, very strong views on both. And I actually I have the same opinion as you do. I'm voting yes on both of them. But we were going to kind of talk to you about those two. And might as well start with 3. And I think 3 is the weed one and 4 is the abortion one, right?
Right. Well, 3, that was Tim's issue. I did it for Tim. Tim relied heavily on marijuana to relieve his pain, and especially his breakthrough pain. And that's why I did the constitutional amendment to legalize medical marijuana.
In fact, I think you are kind of the founding father of Florida with regards to the money you put behind it and the infrastructure that you built. You are the reason we got medical marijuana was solely on you, pretty much.
That is true.
Right.
And
so, Seth, you need to be liking this guy.
Thank you so much. Thank you for truly, Mr. Morgan.
Well, think about this. I mean, when you think about it, I spent, tens of millions of dollars because I had to do it twice. But, when I think about it, in Florida right now, 1 million people have a card. I mean, like 1 out of 20 people I have helped with their deal. What I'm working on now with a fellow named Howard Kessler is a possibility, if we get it downgraded to a Schedule 3, to have it where insurance can cover marijuana.
Oh,
that day is coming.
That's coming.
That day will one day be here, and because the people who fight the hardest against this are the pharmaceutical industries and the booze industry.
They want you
it's competition.
They want you hopped up on Vicodins, not some sativa, right?
Yeah, exactly. They want you, or just blind running Bubba drunk on tequila,
right?
And they don't care how you get your freak on as long as it's with their product.
With their product. And God forbid somebody come in with a better product that makes you feel better and, puts a damper on their party. And because, boy,
right.
And probably out of all the people you've dealt with, probably Big Pharma are the shadiest bitches of all. Are they not? Or is Big Tobacco even shadier?
They're all shady because what they do is they make money knowing that they're going to kill us.
Right.
They know. I sue the tobacco industry all the time. You know what they call new smokers? Replacement smokers. Those filters where you see the brown, where you think you're pulling out tar and nicotine? There's no tar and nicotine. They lace the cotton with a chemical. When it gets warm, it turns brown. So you think that you're blocking the tar and nicotine. These are evil MFers. And the pharmaceutical industry, they lie with tests. I mean, they are wanting to make money, and they don't care how they do it. So for me, I know I got a winning argument on Amendment 3 because they're like the only argument that I've heard Ron DeSantis have against it. He said it smells bad.
Oh.
Somebody said, "What do you think about this? It smells bad." I said, "Let me tell you something. when I smell it, I want to go into wherever that party is. I do not want to be. If I smell weed in this room, I want to go in that room
and see what's going on.
See what's going on.
Right. Because there's cool music. There's cool people. There's cool people over there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I want to go in and smell the skunk.
But he also, and I think you said, I saw an interview where he's trying to like play on people's emotions by saying, well, it doesn't have a grow at home provision. And you've already said, listen, we'll get that next time. Like,
listen, if Governor Ron wants to grow at home, it can be done legislatively this coming year. He doesn't want grow at home. I want grow at home. We should have grow at home. We can grow weeds at home, so we should be able to grow weed at home and smoke it at home. And I agree with him. Take the monopolies out of it. Let Joe Blow have his little marijuana farm right next to his tomatoes.
Right. I mean, I think you can grow tobacco with no problem, can't you?
Let Joe Blow become Joe Grow.
Yeah, instead of Joe Blow, Joe Grow.
There you go, Joe Grow. Yeah. But he's bullshit. I mean, he's BSing everybody when he says that because he doesn't want that. If he does, guess what?
He can do it with a stroke of a pen.
He can do it. Well, the House and the Senate would have to do it with him, but he can do it.
John, the other thing he attacked, and I want you to have a chance to
by the way, this is Brian Matroni, and he's a personal injury lawyer here in town, and he comes to and is on my show every Thursday. He's a pain in my ass, a real smarmy son of a bitch, but he's smart and everybody loves him. But Brian, go ahead.
I'm a big fan and amazed by what you've been able to build. But the other thing he said was about the liability blanket liability protection for the weed manufacturers. What do you say about that? First of all, I support it, by the way. I'm not sitting here as like a counter talker.
They don't have any liability. They have immunity from prosecution from growing it and selling it, but they don't. If they do something, if they put an unsafe product in commerce, they have the same problem that Honda and Ford and the pharmaceuticals have. It's a complete lie.
It's a distraction,
right? And that's kind of the point. Is he's out there doing what he's done his entire political career, which is to lie, fearmonger, and do what he needs to do to get his way. I support you 100% in the fight. Really wish you'd run for governor.
Yeah, hold on. We can put an end to all of this nonsense if you just get off your ass and run for governor. My Lord.
Well,
and listen, I've been with you a couple of times, and we've had this discussion, and you've told me they have begged you to run for governor. Have they not?
A lot of people have because, I got a good name. I'm in every market in Florida, so everybody knows me. They know I've passed these two. I've raised the minimum wage to $15.
Yep.
And we passed this. But the problem, Bubba, is, then I got to go to meetings.
And you have to have
the highway patrol budget for the next year. I'm like, can you imagine sitting in that meeting?
Well, not only that, but now you're on the third leg of your John Morgan tour, and one of the good things with the John Morgan tour is there is no alarm clock. You just wake up when you wake up. So if you're the governor, you might actually have to wake up at 7:15
and stay in Florida year round.
And stay in Florida. You can't be out there in Maui.
Now in Hawaii, I've got a rooster. I got a farm in Hawaii. I got a little fruit farm in Hawaii, and I've got a rooster named Tommy. And the good thing about Tommy is he keeps the chickens happy, but the bad thing about Tommy is he wakes me up early. Now, when Tommy wakes me up in Maui, I'm 6 hours behind. So, Tommy's waking me up at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Right. Noon.
I like getting up at noon.
Yeah, but I'm saying so you couldn't be the governor because, it'd be like all meetings would be like at 11, 12, 1. They got to get things done by then.
Yeah, we'd be zooming from
but you would win. You know you would win. Absolutely. Like almost if Grady Judd ran. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I've already told Grady Judd this. He's one of my best buddies in Florida.
He's one of my best friends too. I actually do some ride-alongs with him. And before I interrupt you, that we have another common friend that people would never know that you two are friends, but you are. And I hope I'm not misspeaking here, but I'm really good friends with Roger Stone, and I know you're friends with Roger.
Roger Stone has been very helpful to me in this entire marijuana climb, and he's a crazy guy.
Oh, he is.
But he is a very, very smart dude.
Yeah, so
And,
you think he could be talking to Trump about, you think Trump would listen to Roger, or is Trump just won't listen to anybody?
Listen, Trump pardoned Roger because Trump listens to Roger.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. You think? I mean, yeah, a lot of people didn't get pardoned. Roger got pardoned.
So back to your Grady Judd story before I
So Grady Judd, I've already told Grady Judd. I said, look, Grady, if I run for governor, I'm gonna run as an independent because I think the party system's broken. I mean, the fringes are just too much. Most of us agree on most things when you take the D and the R down. But I told Grady, if I run, you're my lieutenant governor. And he said, I'm with you, man. So tell Grady, we're going to have, you talk about a dream team. Me and Grady Judd, law and order.
He is.
That's awesome.
And you don't see any of this nonsense that's happening all around other cities happening in Polk County. I mean, there's bad guys that'll drive around Polk County an extra 150 miles just not to go through it. You know what I'm saying?
Grady's like, remember that movie? Who was that? Sheriff Buford T. Pusser or something like that?
Buford T. Justice. On Dukes at Hazard. Remember?
Yeah. Buford T. Justice. But hey, by the way, Grady's no fool. I mean, Grady has a PhD from Rollins. I mean, this is his craft. This is his profession. He's not just a guy that was a mall cop and then became the sheriff. This guy is. You and him
have a lot in common in that you're both good at what you do, but you're both very good communicators. Half of Grady's greatness is when he gets on the podium up there and he's got the picture of the dude and he has, he breaks the dude down and it just, you are the same way. I mean,
Well, listen, I debated sheriffs all over Florida for medical marijuana, and it's always hard because when somebody's got a gun, you just are a little bit more careful about what you say. But all the sheriffs had no chance with me. But the one who gave me trouble was Grady Judd.
But I remember after you guys debated, you went to some honky tonk like cowboy bar or something and bought drinks for everybody in Lakeland, if I remember right.
I went to Boots and Buckles, and everybody was fucked up, messed up, and yeah, I did a bunch of and got up there, but I invited Grady down to Boots and Buckles.
I heard you got to Boots and Buckles and really let loose, really got after it.
Well, I wasn't drunk enough to get after it yet. I really got after it on my bus ride home.
Right.
To the beat. That's when the real party started.
So you made news, John, when they did the big switcheroo with Biden and Kamala, and I know that there was actually, I think you were on Fox and all kinds of things, and you are one of the big time Democratic swinging D's in Florida. I mean, you're one of the greatest. One of the greatest things I've ever done. I've interviewed a ton of people. I've done some great things. I've done some bad things. But one of my highlights of my life is I'm having lunch with you one day, and you're like, when we get back to my office, we'll call up President Clinton and see what he thinks about this thing. Remember that thing we were working on? And we're in your office and talking to President Clinton. And I was just like, wow.
No, we were actually at that taco place having tacos across the street.
Well, yeah, you called him first there, and then he said, he's like, "Oh, hey, call me back, John, in like 15 minutes." So then
I told him, I said, I'm gonna have 2 Bubba's meat. Yeah, I said, Bubba meet Bubba.
Yeah, and so it's so.
He got a big kick out of you. He looked you up later and figured out what Bubba he was talking to.
Oh yeah, I can remember his favorite line. I don't even think I can really talk about what we talked about that day. But so you were not necessarily, and I still don't think you're necessarily sold on Kamala, and I think you let it be known when they made the switcheroo.
Well, look, I was Joe Biden. I'm a Joe Biden type of Democrat. When the Democrats started putting the word socialist at the end, I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm a Democrat socialist. I'm like, I'm not. I'm a Democrat capitalist. And so I've kind of been moving away more to the center, or being pushed more to the center. So I'm a Joe Biden type Democrat. I've known him forever. When they pushed him out, and he was pushed out, I was in favor of having like a convention to figure out who's best. But in retrospect, when you look at what they've done, they've kind of done some jiu-jitsu on the Republican Party because
jiu-jitsu. I love it. Joe, did you come up with that?
Yeah,
that's
but
good.
They're getting ready to, she doesn't have to be in a primary. She's only had a few votes. And so this is really frustrating the Republicans because it's hard to lay a glove on somebody who you don't have an issue to talk about. So it's turned out to be a masterstroke. I'm not against her. I'm not for. I'm like with both of them. I'm like everybody's saying we're going to have to this election. We are all going to have to hold our noses and vote. That's how I feel. Not who do I like the most, but who do I hate the least.
That's that's what happens when we have a two-party system. Can you ever see, John, having a third party, or is it just never? It's just a good old boys, and it's just never going to happen.
I don't think it's. But look, here's what we know: there's Democrats, there's the progressive socialists, and then there's the liberal Democrats. That's two parties, and then there's the rhinos. That's the country club guys walking around with sticks up their asses with a shrimp boil at the country club. And then there's the MAGA crowd, and they're the guys with the shirts off and the boats and the flags and playing Lee Greenwood 24/7. Those are the four parties. There's not two parties. There's four parties: MAGA, Rhino, Joe Biden, Democrat, Progressive Socialist. So yeah, I could see a day because when we have things like marijuana on the ballot, it passes with over 60%, 70% of the vote.
Abortion the same way.
Abortion the same way. Most of us agree on most things, but you put a D or an R next to it, it's impossible. It's like this. Okay, it's like trying to get Florida State fan to put on a Gator jersey and go to a game. That it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. And so those teams are already locked in. And then what happens is the power at the top, they don't represent the people. They represent the special. And nothing is ever going to happen. Ron DeSantis is beholden to the insurance industry, the booze industry, the pharmaceutical industry. So nothing's ever going to happen for the people at the bottom. So unless we have a constitutional amendment, and then the people get the power. And that's why Amendment 3 is going to pass, because when you give the people the power, they take it and they use it.
And so what they don't realize is there's going to be people from Florida that vote for Donald Trump, but vote yes on 3 and 4. So what does that tell you? That's telling you, okay, I'm Republican, in some way, but I think democratically when it comes to weed and abortion, and there's a lot, in order for both of those to pass, one, Trump's probably going to win the state, and then two, both of those are going to pass. So what does that show you? That shows you that most people take the D and the R away, think alike.
Exactly. That's why I would run I would love to test that. I don't know if it's possible, but that's why I would love for somebody credible to test that as an independent, because we all, everything, felons' rights, remember that one.
Charlie, didn't Charlie Crist put that one in? Your boy Charlie?
Well, that's a constitutional amendment.
Oh, constitutional
amendment.
Right.
Everything that we want has to happen through the constitutional amendment. I challenge any of your listeners to tell you one thing that the Florida legislature has done that benefits them. But when you go to constitutional amendments, marijuana, minimum wage, fair elections, felons' rights, we're all like, yeah, hey, he went to jail. He paid his price. He paid his dues. Let him vote. But then they come out and he's got to pay a fine. And they still got that gummed up because they represent the very, very top of the food chain and not the rest of us.
So John, you being a big slinging D in Florida, have you ever met Trump before?
I have.
Yeah.
I've met Trump at Mar-a-Lago once.
Really?
And yeah. And look, he's a charming guy. He's bigger than you think. He's a big guy. He's a charming guy. The day I was with him, he made a donation to $100,000 to this friend's charity, Adam Donner, who's dead now. I was at the club, and Rush Limbaugh was there. They were all, I was with the.
You were really with the Brat Pack there, weren't you?
Yeah, the only person I was missing was you and Stern.
Yeah,
but
well, hold on. Speaking of which, I met Donald. I was invited to Howard's wedding, and I was sitting one table across. I was with Sam Simon, the co-inventor of the Simpsons, and somebody and Artie and me and Brent, and the table across from us was Leon Black, the guy who runs Black's. That guy might have a little more money than you, maybe. I don't know.
Apollo. That guy's got some Diddy problems, though. He had to resign from Apollo.
That's right. Apollo Global, which owns Cox Communications. Leon had to get the hell out because he had some Diddy issues, did he not?
Epstein.
Yeah, okay. So I was the table across from me was Leon, Don Buchwald, Donald Trump, and Kelly Ripka and her husband and Barbara Walters. The table across, and here my dumb hillbilly asses are hanging out with these people.
John.
Well, Trump is he's not. Here's why I look at Trump. He might be a genius, but he's also crazy. I mean, that's the bottom line. That's my bottom line on tape. This guy keeps saying things that you think, all right, he's dead, but he just keeps. Now he's going to go to Springfield, Ohio. He's going to go up there and start
see if they're really see if they're really eating cats.
Yeah, one thing about him, you cannot back him down. You cannot. There is nothing you can do to shame him. It's impossible, but he can sure as hell shame you. When he marched in with all those women to Hillary's debate, and I was there. It was like, holy cow! He has no limits. I mean, when he fights, he's putting on brass knuckles. He's got nunchucks. He's got tasers in his pocket.
And you know what? You and I, with the thing that I had. And we met with Bill about. We had something that could have caused some real big issues, didn't we, buddy?
We had it. Trump owes you, Bubba.
Well, yeah, you cut the deal. You get one hell of a deal through a big swinging D. And Brian Panish, was that the guy from California?
Yep, Brian Panish. But the guy that you bought it, the guy that you sold it to,
is in prison.
He's in prison.
I know. I was wanting to see if maybe I could, he loves himself. I wonder. I was going to see if I could ever maybe do an interview with that guy and buy it back, for five G's or something like that. Buy it back.
He may give it back to you if you give him $25 for the canteen at the jail.
I'd be like, hey, John Morgan gave me $1,000 for your canteen.
You need some milk. You need some milk dud money.
So listen, we got a topic that Brian was going to bring up that I know that it won't upset you, but I know that it makes you full hot. And Brian, what was that about the UF deal?
Well, I mean, either the head coaching situation or the president, Ben Sass, and the absolute shakedown robbery criminal activity that he and his crew pulled on the university.
Yeah, Brian's like, man, let's ask John about that one. He'll go full crazy on that.
Well, look, if the University of Florida was a stock, would you ever buy one share? I mean, it's mismanagement at its grossest level. Football, academics, they bring in DeSantis's buddy to be president of the university. He brings in his buddies. They're having food. They're having sushi. They're having shrimp. Each shrimp was costing $30 a shrimp. And he just was there for 18 months and just, raped the university. Now he's leaving, but he's going to be paid $1 million a year to do shit until 2028.
So they're paying him a golden parachute to go away because you're so crappy. And I think what was his sushi bill one time? $38,000.
$38,000. And, he's one of these sanctimonious guys from Nebraska. I mean, he brought it, but I'll tell you what he did. He brought a corn cob. He brought a corn cob from Nebraska, and he took the corn off and stuck it up the University of Florida's rear end with that corn cob.
Is Billy Napier? When do they get rid of Bill? When do they
Billy Napier, he's another problem. And, I'm not mad at Billy Napier because look, it was like bringing in the high school coach from Lake Mary Prep to become the Florida Gator coach. but if you give a guy, if somebody says to you, hey, I'm gonna give you a contract and I'm gonna guarantee $26 million, you take it.
Yeah.
I don't know shit about football, but if they offer it to me, I'm coaching. I'm gonna take it. So I'm not mad at Billy Napier. Dan Mullen was fired. They had to buy him out. Now they're going to have to buy Billy Napier out. And the truth of the matter is, it's over. They fired Dan Mullen. He finished in the top 10 3 out of his last 4 years. He coached Tebow to a national championship. He developed Dak Prescott. He'll be back next year. They fired a winner to hire this guy who looks. When I first saw Billy Napier, I thought it was the guy from Sling Blade, Billy Bob Thornton. I like, we taking the French fries and dipping them in the mustard. But I'm like, who is this guy? I don't blame Billy Napier, but they're going to have to pay him $26 million to go away. I hear the money's put together. The great thing about these boosters, all these guys never played sports, even in high school. I mean, these boosters are the kids who struck out in kickball in elementary school. So they have no athletic ability, but now they're sitting up going, he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, you don't know what you're doing because you never should have fired Dan Mullen in the first place. You should. Now, what I would do with Billy Napier, I'd never fire him. I'd just say, hey,
we're gonna let you run. We're gonna let you come. We'll let you run your crappy contract right on out, and we'll be fine.
Come to work. Because here's the thing about recruiting. Recruiting doesn't matter anymore.
No, it's the NIL.
It's NIL and portal. All that shit about Mullen couldn't recruit. Every college has an NIL director now.
Yep. Would the Gators consider Deion? After Deion, does this thing in Colorado and his son's gone, or you think Deion's not the answer?
Well, first of all, back to my thing. He's from FSU. They'd be like, oh no, we cannot have a Seminole. Oh, no.
But that might be the real disruption that you need.
Listen, the University of Florida football is now Vanderbilt for the foreseeable future. The pipeline is empty. Once the pipeline gets empty, people are not going to go to the games. By the time the season's over, it's going to be, 3 or 4 bored people in the parking lot eating deviled eggs. And just because they want to get away from their wife. I'll go anywhere. To leave the house. I got these tickets, honey. I gotta go.
Yeah,
it's a dead program, and college football. I'm sorry to say, it's semi-pro football.
They've ruined it. They've
ruined it. I don't watch it. I don't even care. And then the guy at FSU. They got to buy him out for $76 million.
And then Jimbo, remember Jimbo at Texas A&M? He got Brian? What did he get? Like $59 million?
Oh, yeah, $78 million.
$78 million.
But remember this. You know who got it for him? Jimmy Sexton, the agent. Whoever. If I'm a coach, I'm hiring Jimmy Sexton because he can get those. He scares these universities. You're going to lose Billy Napier. It's like you're going to lose Billy Napier.
Now, John, are you guys with Demo being so? I know Demo's good friends with Cuban, and I know Demo's good friends with a lot of athletes. Are you looking maybe through Demo, or have you guys already established maybe a sports agent type deal?
Well, I have one. My partner lives in Tampa, Tom O'Connell, and when we first started the company, we called it Legend Sports. Now we call it O'Connell. One of our players is Zach Eflin, who got traded from the Rays to Baltimore. So we have a baseball business already that Tom O'Connell, if anybody needs representation, we're your team. And he's right there in Tampa Bay. And we have some great players. But Demo kind of has moved more to law than, he was interested in basketball.
Right.
And basketball is a dirty, dirty, dirty game. I mean, it's payola, and the players are taking payola from like 10 people, at the same time.
And it's shoe deals, and it's just really bad.
Deals, yeah. It's just, and in Florida, if you pay money, it's a 3rd-degree felony. So it's almost impossible for Demo to. He tried it. He ran all those traps. He got close with a couple of players, but
and then these players just absolutely become way over the top demanding. Like, you almost got to be a babysitter, right? I mean,
Oh, listen, Nick Bonacani Sr. Nick Bonacani Jr. was a member of Morgan & Morgan. Nick Bonacani Sr. was the great Dolphin. He was a sports agent. And I asked him, I said, what made you get out of the business? He said, one time I went to Buffalo, or I met Jim Kelly in Buffalo. I'm going to try to represent Jim Kelly. No, in Miami. And he goes, I have a meeting with Jim Kelly, and he's, talking to me. And then he says, all right, I got to go to the airport. He said, I drop him off at the airport, but I kind of stayed out there because I had an inkling. He said, Kelly walked to the airport, stayed for about 10 minutes, and then walked out and got in another car and drove somewhere else. He goes, that was the day.
So Jim Kelly was just playing him.
He was just, he wasn't playing him, but he wasn't really going back home. He wasn't going home. He was working to see who could give him the most. There's nothing wrong with that. But a guy like Nick Bonacani Sr. to be chasing, because he was the 17-0 Dolphins. He was the captain.
The 72. So
the 72.
Did anybody ever ask you this? And this is kind of a goofy question. What do you think Mr. Calling and Mr. Gilbert are thinking nowadays?
They're still in business.
Mr. Calling, this is a shock. Mr. Calling, who was in best health of all of us, died jogging at age 50.
Whoa. Really? Because for those that don't know, John, it was for with your
Morgan, Calling, and Gilbert.
Yeah, Morgan, Calling, and Gilbert. That, as a being a longtime Floridian, that's what it was. Morgan, Calling, and Gilbert.
And by the way, Stewart, I bought them both out for a little bit of money.
Right.
Stewart died jogging with his son at age 50. Stewart would be 65 now. So he's been dead 15 years, and he died running in front of Doc Rivers' house in Winter Park. So he's not he's hopefully – I was at his father's funeral on Saturday, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
The dad was 94. And Stewart's brother, Jay, and I went to Winter Park High together. We're best buddies. And Gilbert, he's just a good guy. I mean, I made him an offer. At the time – I was expanding. They wanted to close Jacksonville. They wanted to close Fort Myers. They didn't want to spend money, and so I bought them out for very little money.
Was that what it was, John? Though, just a difference of vision, and you had the vision for the bigger things, and
we were
just
taking
weren't
our
thinking
profit.
big.
We were pouring it into Jacksonville and Southwest Florida. They wanted the profit to go. Look, when I bought them out, the first thing Ron Gilbert did was he bought a big boat. And you know what they say about the
Boats.
3 F's? If it flies, floats, or F's, rent it.
It's cheaper to rent it.
Cheaper to rent it.
Right.
But Ron went and bought a big boat. And, that told me everything.
They say that in boat owners, there's only 2 great days in boat owners: the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Listen, I don't like boats. A lot of people do. I don't want to be on a boat. I don't like to fish. If I want to fish, I go to the fish market and buy fish. And these time we're going to catch and release. Why? It's like, it's like shooting deer. We're just going to shoot them in the leg. But
John and I share this philosophy.
And when people try to give me venison, they're like, but the venison's so good. I said, it tastes like shit. I can smell. I can taste the fur. I can smell the fur on the plate.
Do you still have that one famous basketball player from the Magic work for you?
Work for him? You mean Grant Hill?
Yeah.
We're partners, and he never worked for me.
Oh, because he was there when I was there that day, and I interviewed.
Oh yeah, we have businesses together. We have a lot of real estate. Grant's now. We talk all the time. Grant's now head of USA Basketball. Grant owns a piece of the Atlanta Hawks. Grant Hill could be the governor of Florida. He's the guy. He's a guy that's a transformative figure that everybody loves. He's smart as hell. He's rich as hell. To me, he's Peyton Manning's football, Derek Jeter's baseball, Grant Hill's basketball when you look at the greats.
When I was there, he had, I thought, he had an office there, and I met him with you. I didn't just know he was a splinter off on, your other 85 things that you own. I didn't know. I thought he was a lawyer or something like that.
He could be. He's on the Duke board. The Grant Hill.
And then you got the guy that oversaw the Casey Anthony. Is he still with you, or did he retire?
Jose Baez?
No, not that idiot. The guy, the judge.
Oh, Belvin Perry. He retired this year.
Yeah, he was. You had him working for you.
He retired. He's fantastic. He's 75, and he's hung up his robe, and he is a phenomenal guy. He was like the first African American lawyer in Florida, in Central Florida.
John Morgan, ladies and gentlemen, for the people, pound law, that's all, $1 a holler, you name it. I've been friends with him for such a long time, and I was just thinking about him yesterday. I'm like, I'm going to call him up, see what he's doing. He was poolside with a margarita, and I said, John, will you come on the show tomorrow? Because there's a lot of topical things to talk about. And he's like, Bubba, for you, I will. So, John, thank you so much. I'd love to have you on from time to time. You're just so insightful, and you've been such a great friend to me, and I can't thank you enough for coming on today, bud.
Well, I think the world of you. I think you're one of the most clever guys I've ever been around, and all of my children love you too.
Yeah.
So, it's like my brother Tim used to say, dogs know. Well, I say my children sign off on somebody. It's like Tim would say about dogs know. If my children love you, you've passed the test, Bubba.
Thank you, my friend.
We got to see that Bubba Clem Morgan & Morgan commercial like Ronnie Mund.
Yeah. Maybe, huh?
Maybe.
John, I'll be in touch, and tell Demo and Matt I said hi, my friend.
Make sure you play Blowing All My Stacks today.
Oh, I will. or who's buying the sides or something like that. Remember that was another single.
Sides for the table.
Sides for everybody, right?
Yeah.
All right, hey, love you, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. John Morgan from Morgan & Morgan. What a great dude, man.
He's solid.
And what a really, really great setting to talk to him, where he's just, really casual. And
he's got a Diddy story, an OJ story.
Yeah.
I mean, holy
hell.
hell.
Hold on, pallbearer for Johnny Cochran. We need to have him on once a month.
Yeah, just story time with John would be. He should do a podcast.
He should.
If you want a deep dive into the Bubba the Love Sponge show from the past, go to BubbaArmyHQ.com. We'll be back after these words.